Yeah.
What you up to?
You know how you get, like, the thrill of opening, like, loot boxes and stuff?
Yeah, I'm aware.
And you know how they're a terrible predatory practice that no one should get involved in and companies should definitely stop doing?
Yeah, it's unregulated gambling aimed at children, yeah.
Ha, but I found a workaround.
Okay.
Just imagine.
Sorry?
Just imagine. Hang on. Okay. Opening the box. Ooh, sparklies, lots of sparklies. What's it gonna be? Skits. Like a whole bunch of skits. There's just, box full of skits.
Oh, that's quite an exciting thing to have pulled in the box.
Right. And there's loads of sparklies as well. I got to imagine all of the sparklies.
Do you want to open another one, I guess?
Okay. Oh, this is a gold one. It's extra shiny. Oh, there's a jingle. And everything. La, yeah, baby! Oh, glowing light. Okay, glowing light settling. Okay, I've got things we played, watched, and listened to, and 2 queer wifey types.
Oh, heck!
Yes, I love this game. Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnadale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnetdale, and welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast for 2 queer wifey types, that's us.
We come from imaginary gacha.
Yeah, apparently so. 2 queer friends have been, we have a bit of a catch-up about the media we've consumed in the week, and do silly voices and skits. Just have a bit of a silly catch-up.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm chilly.
Yeah.
It's been a bit warmer recently, but still, I am very chilly.
That is your eternal state. You just your limbs don't get the heat properly.
They do not. I'm slowly freezing. I need you, my little basking rock.
I am currently a toasty little bean.
You are wearing multiple layers.
I'm in a hoodie and a dressing gown
and a blanket.
And a weighted blanket. I am a cozy little bean. What have you been playing this week, my dear?
What have I been playing? Well, we played some things together. We had a bit of a board game sesh.
Yeah, where do we want to start?
We played Clank.
We did.
Original Clank, classic Clank, the original.
Yes, which we've not played in a while.
We haven't. I prefer playing it in larger player counts, mostly because you are an expert at deck building and you absolutely destroy me every time.
It is one of the games that when we play, there's a good percentage chance of me winning. Which I think the reason it came out this past weekend is you'd won the first game of the day and we're like, okay, I can play this and maybe lose the second one.
I won't mind too much. This won't be like the third game I've lost in a day.
It's one of those, I love Clank as a game, but I entirely understand why it is where it is on your list of games.
Like, I'm not one of those people that I don't... It's not that I like playing games. What I like doing is winning.
No.
I do like playing games, but I like to win enough that I don't feel like I'm just completely inept.
And I think generally, as a couple, we have a pretty good, like, if we're playing games against each other, there's a pretty good rate of both of us winning.
I would need to check the app for that.
Oh, you do have an app for that now.
I do have an app for that.
Ooh, someone's got an app to empirically work out who's winning more games.
It does lots of other things too. I can tell you exactly what percentage of games I've played on what days.
Well then.
I love my little app. It's full of stats.
It is full of stats. But yes, we played Clank. We haven't talked about it in a while, but it is part deck builder, part board game, in that it is... You're doing your individual deck building while exploring an environment in a little dungeon, trying to like collect treasures and things.
Yeah.
Lots of the cards will generate clank, which is basically you made some noise, and then when the dragon attacks, you pull cubes out of a bag, and the more noise you've been making, the more risk of your cubes coming out and damage happening. And then occasionally someone will leave the dungeon and everyone has to do a mad scramble to try and leave and see who's got the most points.
Because as soon as the first person is out, whenever it comes back to what would have been their turn, there's going to be a dragon attack. Whether anything else triggered a dragon attack or not, there's always going to be one there.
The more people have fled to the surface, the more frequently you're going to be pulling cubes out of that bag and risking taking damage on your way out. And it snowballs quickly.
Oh yes. We played with the Mummy's Curse board.
Yeah, which is... it's a slightly different layout, has a few different things on the board, but the main difference is there's a mummy that moves around and you can fight it if you're in the correct zone.
If you're in the correct zone. There's usually just an above ground and a below ground.
Yes.
And you can't leave if you haven't gone below ground at least once.
Yeah, you've got to have gone and got a trophy or something from below ground.
Yes. And then there's loads of other random sort of things around the board that you can find, and they will be mysteries, and sometimes they'll be like a health potion, or a little speed boost potion, or they might be discard a card from your discard pile or something.
Yeah.
It's a fun, interesting deck building game. I think it does suffer with the same thing that I feel generally about deck building games anyway, wherein a lot of it can come down to luck.
You'll sometimes have those moments where it's like the opening shop row has appeared and that one really fucking good item has appeared, and
then
whoever
who
gets
can
it
get the money first.
Yeah, whoever can get together enough money or buying power to grab it first is going to have a significant advantage compared to what they would otherwise.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I got that magic carpet. I got it quite early on, and I still only lost by... I still lost, and I still lost by like 3 points. It was pretty close. It was closer than usual.
It was one of those games where, like, there was a good few rounds in the early game where I would finally have enough buying power to get the rare, very good item, and then you would buy it, like, immediately before I got it. Or, like, okay, I've got my plan for next turn. Oh, Jane did that on this turn. You were always, like, exactly one turn ahead of where I was going for a while.
Which is interesting, because I think I went first.
I think I went first.
You went first.
So
okay,
I think
then.
it's that you bought the item that, like, the carpet that lets you sort of speed a bit, and I think that, like, you get, like, one turn ahead of my pacing.
I managed to, like, you were, like, 2 steps away from getting to the 30-point artifact, and I managed to nab it quickly. But by that point, you'd already got more money, which meant you were able to buy more things from the shop.
Yeah.
As you were passing, and you were able to, like, buy things, like, you were able to buy a backpack, and basically be able to pick up a second artifact. I think you ended up getting just about every single artifact, every single item from the shop, one of everything from the shop.
I think so, yeah. I like that the game does seem to rubber band a little bit in that regard of, like, if you focus down on one thing, someone else will probably have gone down a different route and it will sort of converge back in terms of how you've done.
Yes, and you never know what the large mystery items are going to be. They might be something that's worth a decent amount of money. This particular map has a giant monkey head treasure that's also worth 10 that you can randomly pick up. It's got the 3 little see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil monkeys as well, which are worth 5 each, and you can just randomly grab. Yes. There's lots of different ways to score points in this.
It's got the curse mechanic, which I think is unique to this one, which is occasionally you'll get a good thing, but you'll get a curse, and that's -2 points at the end, but there's ways to cure your curses, and that's like an additional negative point modifier you're having to manage, and
it's a little extra hiccup and just something a little bit different. And I enjoy Clank. It's definitely one of my favourite games, but I think it works better in higher player counts.
I agree, the additional chaos and the if you don't get it this turn, there's a bigger amount of people who will probably grab the thing. Like, I think that balances out well at larger player counts.
And it has been a really long time since we played, like, proper Clank, because we played Acquisitions Incorporated.
Yeah, the sort of legacy Clank.
The legacy one with friends, and that has much more of a sort of co-op vibe to it.
Yeah.
Like, you are trying to achieve the thing and get out, and that will ultimately mean that anyone left behind is going to have more dragon attacks going on, but ultimately you are kind of all working together, so you have to be a little bit more friendly about it.
And honestly, I like that. I think it works well, that legacy campaign, but yeah.
And Renegade do seem to have put out multiple different versions of Clank now. So we've got Clank. We've also got Clank in Space.
Yeah.
Clank Legacy is out, has been a few years now. We've played through that with friends. Clank Legacy 2 is coming out, I believe, sometime maybe this year. The Clank Catacombs, which is the procedurally generated one.
Oh.
And then there's The Hunger, which is just Clank, but slightly different with vampires.
Oh.
I know this because recently I got a thing being like, hey, we've got The Hunger for 15 quid. And I was like, that's pretty good for a big box game. I know very little about this game, but I've definitely heard about it. Looked at it, I was like, oh, it's just Clank. In fact, it's here in this review, it's an entire breakdown of how this is similar and or different to Clank. It's like, we've got 2 Clanks, we don't need a third.
I think we'll be alright.
Yes, and our friends also have a Clank, and I'm pretty sure just about everyone we know who's got who wants a Clank has got one.
Exactly.
Yeah, and what about you? What else have you played?
Well, I finished a game this week.
Finished.
Yeah, after 90 hours crammed into a couple of weeks, I have finished playing through Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
Oh, heck.
I fucking love this video game. I think
glad.
it's great. It scratches all of my little itches in what I like in a video game.
It was so many of the things you love in one place.
It is. It is like a serious, dramatic, like cutscene heavy, narrative heavy RPG. It is a silly little open world game where it's absolutely jam-packed full of side content to do that is mechanically unique, narratively unique, silly, or serious, or both of them at once sometimes in bafflingly well combined ways.
You got a new Pokemon?
Yeah,
there's Animal Crossing.
There's a Pokemon side quest with 150-ish Pokemon to find. There's an Animal Crossing mode where you have like a whole separate island to go do Animal Crossing quests. You have like the Pokemon side quest has like go do the gyms and the Elite Four and the champion and all this, and it has like all acted cutscenes. That game is so much bigger in scope than it had any right to be, while never feeling like it was big for the sake of being big. Like, it always felt incredibly dense in offering content if it was going to give you new places to be.
It never did that thing of, here is a huge new area with fuck all to do.
Yeah, the sheer, like, I thought I had a handle on, like, what the size of your adventuring party and the place you were exploring was going to be, and then at one point the game kind of split into two halves, and it's like, hey, we're kind of doubling up. There's this going on over here and this going on over here, and both of them are as densely packed as each other.
Oh, yes.
And I think this game does a great job of being a follow-up to the original RPG one, Like a Dragon. I think it does a really good job of introducing new characters and making them just as memorable, and I would love to see more of them in the future of the series as the ones from the first. I think it does a much better job than Yakuza 6 did of trying to be a send-off kind of for Kiryu as a character. Like, the deal with Yakuza 6 is it was at one point going to be Kiryu's last game, and then they kind of undid that, because 6 was not a great last game for Kiryu, and this feels like a much more fulfilling, if we never get another game about Kiryu in any regard, I'd be okay with it.
So was 7 the last one with Ichiban?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Okay.
They didn't call it Yakuza 7, but it was basically 7.
Okay.
So yeah, it feels like a much better, if they never make another game with Ichiban, be it if they never made this one feels like if they never made another game with Kiryu, be it a spin-off or a sequel or whatever justification, I'd be okay with that. In fact, I think that Infinite Wealth introduces a new character that, if you wanted a new, slightly more serious, like, brawler, not RPG, lead for the series, I think this game introduces a character I could see holding that role and making it work. Yeah. The biggest complaint I have to say about this game is the final boss was a little bit of a difficulty spike, and it was a difficulty spike at the end of a dungeon, which meant I had to completely leave quite a lengthy dungeon, go find a way to get a bit stronger, and go redo that dungeon to retry the tricky boss, which is like, if that's the biggest complaint I have about a 90-hour RPG, I can live with that. It was maybe a couple of hours of backtrack out, work out how to make some stronger weapons, come up with a new plan, go back in. Which, if it were a shorter game, maybe that 2 hours would have felt more frustrating. And like, it wasn't ideal, but in a 90-hour game, it kind of melts away a little bit. I think it helps that I never had to stop and think about level grinding anywhere else in the game. It was really, really well paced generally for never really needing a grind. So I can take a couple of hours for the final boss, maybe, yeah.
I mean, you did dig into pretty much every single aspect of that game, so I can see how you would have picked up a good amount of XP anyway.
Again, but yeah, that doing all of the side content brought me to about where I needed to be for the end of the game, maybe a couple of levels below where I needed to be, but about, like, all the side content was about what brought me to the level cap.
Yeah, I wonder if that, like, final boss scales? Or if it's something that if you hadn't maybe gone and done all of the side content, or at least not to completion, maybe, that you would have had a much harder time, or you would have had like much more grinding to do at the end?
I'll put it this way. I think the game is definitely balanced around you doing a lot of the side content. Maybe not all of it, but to a certain degree, I think I can say this much. Ichiban, his default class is Hero. And that class, it's, the stats are, to a degree, impacted by your personality stats, which are increased by doing a bunch of the side content.
Right.
He's not the only character with a mechanic like that. There are characters who you are encouraged to do side content because it will mechanically improve those characters.
Yeah.
I think to a certain degree they want you to do a good amount of the side content. And my only other complaint about it, again, is there is a final section where you cannot go back to a certain location, and you might realize, oh, I want to, let's say, build up this character's final weapon. Oh, I can't, I literally, like, now's the time I've realized I need to be stronger and have a stronger weapon, because I want to go do the final boss.
Yeah.
And, like, I literally can't get the prerequisite item that would let me build your better weapon.
Because it's in another location that I'm now locked out of?
Yeah, like, I didn't know I needed a better weapon until now, and I can't go get the default weapon that I build the materials on top of to make your best weapon. So I'm kind of stuck just not being able to increase your damage output, really. Like, there's little things like that. I would definitely say, if you get to the point of no return, and you know there's two halves, do anything you want to do for the second halves being ready for the end of the game before you do the first half's end of the game.
I think that's vague enough.
That'll be a bit clearer if you get there. I also have some thoughts about... There is a character in this game that I really want to have a conversation with someone more personally impacted by their narrative to ask... To talk about some aspects of a character's presentation. It's not enough to negatively, like, to stop me loving this game, but I have thoughts I want to talk through with someone about at least one character's narrative. But generally speaking, it was 90 hours of some of the most sweet, serious, sincere, silly, densely packed, mechanically creative RPG I've ever played. All of the new mechanics in terms of, like, making the battle system more dynamic, I think work really, really well. I really like all the iconography they use to make it clear whether you're gonna, attack someone with a improvised weapon from the environment, if you're gonna do a combo attack with another party member, if you've lined up things right so that you're gonna knock an enemy into another enemy. All of that stuff is really well communicated. I really like what having the little circle of movement does to being able to line up your attacks better. It is fast-paced and really, really satisfying, and I genuinely think a lot of the mechanics that came from the Brawler Kiryu Yakuza games work better here. I find it easier to reliably do environmental damage attacks in this than I ever did in the Brawler ones, even though that's sort of where that mechanic came from. It's great. I've played it through, and I'm currently playing through it again on stream, and there's a bit of me that's like, I don't really have time. I could start a New Game Plus. I could just start going through this again, because god damn, it's a really, really good game.
Do you know if there's a lot extra in the New Game Plus?
I don't know a huge amount about the New Game Plus. I know there's at least a couple of things I haven't done that I probably would do on a New Game Plus.
You're gonna go for the Mahjong Championships?
I know there is and I don't necessarily have to go into New Game Plus, I could just go back into my current save file to do this. I know there is a optional dungeon I haven't done yet that I still want to go back in and do. There's things for me to do still, but it's a really damn good game. I am pretty blown away, and I really hope we get more Ichiban-led RPGs in this series, and I hope we get more games in this series set in Hawaii, because that map is really good, and I hope they don't just one and done it, because this series is usually really good about reusing locations and, to the point where they feel really familiar, and I hope that's the same here. What about you?
Well, we played something else together.
What did we play together?
Most of mine are board games, so it's going to be things we did together. We played Spirit Island.
We did play Spirit Island.
Dude, it's been a little while. We've talked about this before. It's a game where you are the natural spirits of an island there are natives, and they are just getting on with their shit until, in our case, in our most recent game, the Kingdom of England turn up.
Oh no, not
invading-
the English. Fuck the English.
Oh, the fucking English.
fucking English.
So yeah, this is the first time we've actually played with an adversary.
Yeah.
We've been sort of slowly working up to understand base mechanics of game, get the Healthy Island, Blighted Island stuff slowly introduced as well. We've got the events from the expansion stuff, so that adds like a little extra niggles. And now we've added the adversaries.
Yes, which is, rather than just generic invaders, it's like, oh no, this place is invading and they have their own unique mechanics for this set of invaders.
And they have like a unique winning condition, which in the case of England is if any area with villages and cities has 7 or more, at the end of the round, they win. Which, given that one of their special powers is during the second era, there's like a whole bunch of cards that you're going to be drawing, and slowly from that you're going to be exploring into the invaders will be exploring into new areas, then building in those areas, then destroying those areas or ravaging them, potentially causing blight to the island itself. You can take that as pollution or however you want to see it.
Yeah.
But in the second phase, there's most of the cards, all but one in fact, has an icon on it, and that will trigger the special power during that particular area. And for England, it is that basically loads of extra places are going to suddenly get built on, meaning that it is all the easier for them to reach that particular goal. We were only playing the level 1, but level 1 was quite enough to get going, although we did win in 3 different ways in the same round.
We did, but there were also some very hairy moments where things looked quite concerning.
Oh yes, yeah, we had quite a slow start. We were struggling a little bit, but once we got going, we really, really got going.
It didn't help that I took a minute to remember how some mechanics work, and I wasn't using my innate abilities as much as I should have been.
Yeah. I mean, it's a dense game.
Yeah.
It is one of those heavyweight games, or like medium heavyweight games, that once you understand a lot of the iconography and the basics of it, it isn't really all that bad to like play a game. You can play a turn quite quickly, but at the same time, you do have a lot of upfront learning to do beforehand. And it was a good time. We won. Yeah, we won quite far before the end. I think they'd only just got into the third era.
This was my first time playing a new faction.
It was, because usually you play rivers.
Usually we do the rivers and the ocean together because they synergize well. I played as animals, spooky animals in the forest that were good at just jumping just out of the forest, grabbing people and being like, and pulling them in.
Yeah, you had loads of beasts.
Yeah, I had my little roaming army of beasts roaming around the map.
I got a card that really helped because it could let me add more beasts to the table, which meant that you could manipulate them around. And I was playing, I can't remember, I think downpour is the real keyword on there.
The sort of water phoenix thing.
A sort of two-headed water phoenix thing, and primarily, like, one of my best abilities, or two of my best, one of my innate cards lets me let another person use one of their cards or one of their powers twice, or a second time. And one of my main innate abilities is I can, depending on how much blue energy I've created, how much water energy I've created, can potentially reuse my own abilities.
Yes.
Which meant I was able to do that to give you more times to do your abilities again and again and again.
Yes. There was a lot of, like, I would do a thing and you'd go, do you want to do anything again? I was like, I'll generate an extra animal. Do you want to do it again? Yeah, I'll generate an extra animal. I've got my little army here.
Yeah, I mean, it went from, at the start of the game, I was occasionally able to do one thing twice. And by the end of the game, it was like, right, I've got 9 blue energy, which means I can potentially do something 4 times.
Yeah.
Which makes up for the fact that character really struggles to get a lot of card play.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do a lot of work to get a second card play in.
Yes.
But also at that point you're sacrificing your ability to generate a lot of energy, which you need obviously to get the most out of your cards. And then one of their most powerful growth actions, like right at the start of the turn, involves discarding 2 cards from your hand and getting a really good turn out. But that does mean that you're having to then like do pretty much alternates of that and gathering all your cards up and having a slightly weaker turn next time. But it sort of balances out between the two.
Yeah.
But it does mean that there's sort of fits and starts for that character, and it is a very difficult start to the game.
Yeah.
I had a good time, and we won, which is always nice. And it feels good to get rid of all the invaders in Spirit Island.
It does indeed.
I do enjoy it. Okay, so you played Sharp Fangs Behind the Leaves.
Yeah.
And I played Downpour Drenches the World. Ooh. Which I believe are from the Feather and Flame expansion and Branch and Claw. So yeah, that was Spirit Island. What else have you played?
We played a video game together, or at least the demo for one.
We did.
We played the demo that's available for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is the second part of the remake trilogy.
We did.
This is the whole first chapter of the game, it seems, from what I can tell, which is the if you know Final Fantasy VII. The flashback.
It's the talking about the history of Cloud going to Nibelheim with Sephiroth.
My good friend Sephiroth.
Good friend Sephiroth.
Yeah.
Lovely guy Sephiroth.
Yeah, pleasant, lovely, heroic Sephiroth.
Hang
Who's
on.
well-loved, beloved hero.
Well, everyone goes, but he's the bad guy. Explain how we get to the bad guy.
I'm getting there.
Right, I've got 2 hours of content to tell you before we can get to that bit.
It's a nice, sizable demo. It is.
Yeah.
It was a good couple of hours.
It's still so pretty.
It's still so pretty. That game looks gorgeous. It was nice starting to get like a sense of this is going to be the one where we get bigger open world spaces, because there was a lot of like very open vistas and things drawn into the big distance here, where it's like, oh, I can see how you're going to do big open spaces like this.
Yes. Hard to tell what's going to be cutscene, what's not from because there's like a video at the end and videos towards the beginning. I'm still unsure about what's happening. It's got a nice recap. I really appreciated the recap, even to the point of like watching that recap and going, I mean, it's been a while since we played the first part, but I don't remember getting some of the aspects of the ending of the first one in the way that
recap lays out some things that were a bit ambiguous, I think.
I don't know if like maybe they weren't ambiguous and I've just forgotten over time, but in my mind I'm like, I'm pretty sure I did not pick up that aspect of the previous one.
It's the problem with a 3-part very big RPG that's playing around with what you remember versus new things, maybe.
Yeah, also it does kind of play around with like the whole... I mean, I guess it kind of helps with the whole Final Fantasy VII thing anyway, because I was often playing exhausted after work, but still wanting to like play it for hours and hours and hours, and then not sleeping very much, and then going to work the next day.
Yeah.
Because I was obsessed with it, but also I had a really grueling job.
Yeah.
And then, obviously by the time I'd played through 127 hours and all of the times I died as well, and actually getting to the end, like, I had patchy memory of what had happened so far.
Yeah.
Although I remember playing through the first one going, yes, this was definitely a thing that happened. Maybe not exactly the way it did originally, but yeah, it's definitely there.
I, as curious as I still am about what exactly they're doing with certain aspects of this trilogy, playing this reminded me how much I enjoyed playing through the first one of this with you.
Yeah.
And I am excited for more of it. It plays how I like. It was pretty easy to pick back up the fighting system and how it worked.
I mean, it's well tutorialized. So.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's in a flashback is a really good convenient excuse for rebuilding you up with those mechanics and tutorializing them, rather than, hey, you're part of a party of adventurers that last time we saw you was all very competently fighting. Do you need to warm back up?
Like theoretically you could step into this as your first one. I don't know why you would.
I don't think
theoretically
narratively bad idea, but like mechanically they would get you up to speed.
Yeah. And like most of the important controls for like fighting and stuff are on screen constantly.
Yes.
The one thing I really struggled with is press the start button in order to go into the menu to adjust materia, and realising I wasn't quite in the right place, or I hadn't quite come out of the cutscene.
Yeah,
properly.
sometimes it doesn't like going into the pause menu if like you haven't finished a sword swinging animation.
Yeah.
That it'll go to like the game is paused, but you're still seeing the gameplay as opposed to the pause menu.
As opposed to, here is a selection of menus where you
Yes.
can add items and equipment and chat.
It's a slightly janky thing that's like not the end of the world, but I came up against it a little too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good sizable chunk that made me go, yeah, I really want to get back into playing through Final Fantasy with you again, and that's only a few weeks away. Yeah.
But also fuck Square Enix.
I mean, yeah, fuck Square Enix in many regards, but also, yeah, it's Final Fantasy VII though. What about you? What you been playing this week?
We played one other board game.
Did we? What did we play?
We played Root.
We did play Root. We've
Root.
played this before. It's the Little Animal Wars.
It's a very adorable war game.
Yeah.
Don't let anyone tell you it's not a war game, because it very definitely is. So Root is a asymmetric game. You played as the Marquis de Cat, which they are they've recently taken over the forest.
Yeah.
Although we were not playing on the base game map, we were playing on the mountain map, which has a whole bunch of hidden paths that you can slowly uncover for extra points and extra ways around the map. We also played with the hirelings. So we had the local band, I think it is, the equivalent of the rats, and also the lizards.
Oh yes, the cult lizards.
Yes. So it was quite interesting synergistically, because I worked out maybe a bit too late on that I could use the lizards to bring, I could use the bards to bring the lizards into a specific place right near your base.
Yeah.
And then I was able to use the lizards to fight you specifically, so that there weren't enough of them on the board by the time you took over the lizards to fight me. So I'd managed to deplete them, and you were like, well, I could put more back on the board, but by the time I'm ready to use them, they'll be in the wrong place, or they'll be Jane's. It was interesting trying with the different hirelings, and I think, and I may or may not have said this before, but I think the hirelings as a concept work so much better in a two-player game than the Clockwork factions. The Clockwork is the concept of like running an automa, where you're basically running a full version of that faction.
Yeah.
And the hirelings are like a mini version, and they've usually only got 2 or 3 rules, and they're very slowly introduced over the course of
and control of them swaps back and forth, so they will intermittently be trying to benefit whoever currently has their favour.
Yeah, so it's not a lot of headroom for learning.
Yeah.
But you can kind of get an understanding of how the first one works. By the time that has come to pass, it's being passed over to the other person. They'll have a pretty good idea, and they'll also be getting slightly longer with it.
Yeah.
Assuming the, who's in first doesn't change a lot before then it's very likely that the person who had initially had to learn the first set of hirelings is now learning the second set. And it's quite a good balance. Although, thanks to dice rolls, we did end up towards the end of, I've got all but one of them, and then you had all of them, and they were all about to expire on exactly the same turn.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was going to be bad, but it didn't matter, because I did manage to win pretty well. Which, considering I started that game going, I do not remember how the moles work.
I did not know how the moles worked, so I was having to sort of work out the game plan as we went.
Yes. Like the moles, if you let them get going, they can just absolutely steamroll. But I've had like games before where I absolutely got shut down by several consecutive attacks from different people, which meant that my whole engine just completely collapsed within one turn. By the time it came back to me, it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm basically starting from the beginning again, and I don't have very many ways of earning points, so I guess I'm kind of out of the game now. It was a risk, but I think it's only like the second time I've played as them, so it was nice to try again. I didn't get completely steamrolled this time.
You did real good.
I did alright, and you firmly managed to do some good stuff with the cats.
I did. It just didn't come together at the right time, and I didn't act at the right moments in the right ways.
Yeah. But I still very much enjoy Root. It's a good game.
It's a good game
an
indeed.
excellent board game, and fits in the surprisingly small box once you've got a decent insert for it.
That it does.
What about you? What have you been playing?
I've not really been playing much else. It's really just been trying to finish Infinite Wealth so that I'm ready for A, I had work obligations coming up, and B, Deep Rock Survivors will be out by the time any of you hear this, and
Yes.
that's going to be big time sync. So I was just like, I need to get Infinite Wealth out of the way, and I want to play that Final Fantasy demo with you.
Oh, yes.
I've not really had time for much else.
No.
What about you? Have you been playing anything
I
else?
played one other thing that I can briefly talk about. I
Yeah.
don't feel like I've done a huge amount with it, though I have played for a good amount of time. The game is Apico, I think you pronounce it. What, Apico?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but Apico?
Yeah, I'd say Apico because I'm thinking apiary, like with it's bees. You're looking after bees.
You look after bees.
Graphically, it looks a little bit like Littlewood. You've come back to an island. You visit your nan, and it's like, hi, you're gonna come back and raise bees the way everyone on this island raises bees. Excellent. And you're like tutorialized through a few little things, like understanding the basic controls and getting tools and resources, and then you're basically told, hey, don't just dump your stuff all over the island, build yourself a house. It's like, okay. And in the course of knocking down enough trees to build myself a house that would be big enough to put all of the tools and equipment that I would need to build my things, I apparently ticked off a bunch of the local spirits
Oh no!
for knocking down too many trees. So I don't know how I'm supposed to fit all of this in and do all those things as well. But there's like bee crossbreeding to try and get different species of bees. There's a whole mechanic of making sure that the bees are stronger and better by virtue of like getting the right bee stats, checking the bee stats, building slightly better beehives, like proper apiaries, so that you can get honey and comb and wax, I guess. And then, like, now I've got a bunch of wax. I can start making my own candles and selling the candles to make money to buy bottles so that I can start... I think it's mead. They don't call it mead. I think they call it, like, honey pop or something, which is...
I'm gonna guess it's like they couldn't get certified on Switch if they said it was alcohol without a different age rating.
It's the whole cider thing, isn't it?
Peggy will change her age rating if alcohol's involved.
Oh, Peggy.
Yeah.
You're such a scold.
Oh, side note, the man who does the Peggy 18
Was on
voice,
TikTok.
yeah, he only got paid $200
What?
for his work being the Peggy voice. He's never been paid any further money.
I did not know that. I did
Yeah.
see a TikTok from him the other day talking about the fact that, like, oh, you might know me as the Peggy 18 guy.
Yeah.
It's like, so if we could just get, like, even a like from this, and if you are someone who plays games, and could you maybe share it? I guess where he was going with is, I want to know how many people have seen the thing,
Yeah.
so that I can go, and now I've only earned, just to let you know how much I earned for that.
Or if nothing else, like, hey, maybe he makes some money off views on TikTok. Probably deserves it. That's a voice that's very well known. But yes, apiary.
Yes.
Making mead, I think, is where we were at.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
Apico.
Yeah, it's bees. It's lots of bees and a little bit of crafting. Not really survival. You don't have to worry about any of your own stats. You just have to look after bees.
Yeah, bees.
And that doesn't even seem to be particularly high pressure. Like, the bees aren't going to be very upset if you don't immediately go and empty the things or put a new queen in charge. You just go and you do other things like, well, I'm not going to go and look after all those bees, but I will be looking after the few select bees in this giant field of flowers that I'm slowly crossbreeding. Because that's the other thing. You're not just breeding the bees. You end up crossbreeding flowers, and therefore having, like, whole new species of flowers to deal with.
Yeah.
Slowly you'll get more, like, manuals and in the game, and they will constantly give you, like, things to do, things to shoot for, things to work out, ideas on things maybe you haven't done, and suggestions. And then I think it's just laid out in a way that you don't need to do a lot of, like, tutorializing. You can kind of find it yourself, or just look in the manual, because there is always a manual for there. I just wish I had more inventory space.
Yeah.
I need a backpack. Maybe I can make a pack. Or something like that. What about you? Have you played anything else?
No, that's about it for me.
Well then.
Time for this. Oh my god. They're announcing it soon.
They are?
Yeah, the new console. It's coming really soon.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, so I wanted to I wanted to have theories about what the new console's going to do because I've heard some rumors online and I'm excited. So I'm hoping that it's going to have a terabyte, a couple more than terabyte, 5 terabytes of SSD for storing all of my games.
Right, yeah, and 8K.
8K, of course.
8K screen.
Yeah, 120 FPS.
Yeah. Oh, at least. At least.
Backwards compatibility for every console ever.
Every console ever released.
Even the ones they didn't make. All of the consoles.
Yeah. Every arcade, every single version of every arcade, all of it is all going to be completely available.
Yeah, and it'll take all the old games and make them run a way higher resolution, way higher speed, and it'll just like they'll be like brand new games except they're the old games.
It's like once you put the special new kind of DLSS they're going to put on it, Ridge Racer, the original, is going to look like Forza Motorsport 2023.
Exactly. And I've heard you're going to be able to do multiplayer, even if the other person doesn't have the console. You can just send a version of the game to them on their screen, so that they can you can do multiplayer without having to get a second console.
I've heard it's got a whole AR thing, so you could just gesture in front of it, and it's gonna do things with a holographic display that's kind of in front of you, and it's gonna you're gonna be able to touch other things and control other things, and it's all gonna be right there.
And it's gonna be VR, but it'll fit into just a little regular pair of glasses, so people won't even know you're playing it.
And those glasses are going to be super lightweight, and there won't be any problems.
Oh yeah, they're literally just a pair of glasses.
Literally just a pair of glasses, and nice ones too. Stylish
stylish ones. And it's gonna
have a 6-year battery life.
Oh yeah. That seems reasonable.
By the time you need to recharge it, the new one will be out.
I am so ready for all of these features to arrive and to not be at all disappointed by the announcement.
I mean, my uncle works at Nintendo and he said this is definitely happening, so I'm very excited for it to happen.
Well, my uncle works at PlayStation and also says it's happening, so...
Well then, we are agreed.
We are agreed.
This is the world's most advanced gaming chair. You might think you've seen gaming chairs before. You've seen bucket seats, seat warmers, integrated speakers, bunny ears. No gaming chair reacts quite the way this one does at times of extreme pressure when you absolutely cannot miss. This chair will lean you forward automatically into the pro gamer lean. The lean chair, the ultimate chair for gamers who must win.
So,
what have you put in your eyes?
We watched a film together.
We did. We talked about this film last week.
Yeah, I watched it last week, and then I went and saw it again with you, so you've seen it now. What did you think of Argyle?
It's silly. It's very silly.
It's a fun film, right?
It is a fun film. I guess I didn't know entirely what to expect.
Yeah.
And the beginning of the film, I'm getting tripped over myself a lot here. I think Ryan George in the latest pitch meeting said it perfectly. A twist every 10 minutes.
Yes.
10 minutes has passed, there must be another twist in this film.
Yes. And some of them are more well concealed than others.
Yes.
But I think it's fun to just sort of let the twists go at you a bit.
Yeah, it's silly, good for the ADHD.
Yes.
It presses the dopamine button a lot.
Yes. I think they make very, very good use of playing around with the concept and doing silly things with it well. Be it the fight scene where you're swapping between Henry Cavill and the person who's actually in the fight scene.
Yes.
Be it the process of writing the book being imagining the scene and then the character in the scene stopping and going, nah, this isn't working. They play a lot around with the conceit in fun, if not wholly original ways.
Yeah.
And that last act of the film is very fun.
It's ridiculous.
There was one scene where there was, we're all in peril, we're cornered and trapped, and it's all going to go very, very badly wrong. And the following 2 minutes of that film, I was just pissing myself laughing because it was so ridiculous.
I think it's fine to say there is a very colourful scene, and everything from that scene onwards is intensely, okay, that's what we're doing now, cool, sure.
Yeah, there were lots of things I appreciated about this, including getting the heels off as soon as possible.
Yes.
Sensible shoes. Picking somebody for that role who isn't just tiny.
Yes.
Having a film where the lead actor and the lead actress are roughly the same height.
Yes.
And it didn't feel like anyone was standing on a box at any point.
Agreed. I think that some of the twists in it are done well, and I think there's a few of them that really do land that you're going to work out what's coming literally 10 seconds before it happens, but it didn't occur to you before that, and I think that's perfect for a film like this.
Yeah. You might be more switched on than either of us and just be like, yeah, I worked out right from the beginning. It's like, yeah, but I don't care.
The thing is, there's so many twists that, there's going to be at least one that gets you, probably.
Surely one will
and
get you.
Even if the twist doesn't get you, I think that, they're constantly having fun and switching up which, as a maybe parody, you could call it, of that sort of, James Bond-esque spy story. I think it's very clearly a very loving parody. It's one that turns certain aspects up to 11, but never does so to try and mock them. It's no. Something like a James Bond is inherently ridiculous as it is. Just lean into it and do fun, ridiculous shit with the premise.
And hopefully make it less sexist.
Yes.
You can tell that this is from the Kingsman, or at least some of the people involved in Kingsman, because it does that. We want to do a ridiculous spy movie, but we're not going to take it too seriously. We're not going to be, saying years from now, it's a huge work of importance when we're looking at things like Moonraker, which is inherently quite silly.
Yeah, but it's a film that I could very much see myself a few times in the future going, I could go for rewatching that. That was pretty fun, wasn't it?
It's the kind of thing, obviously it's not going to be this week, but say for example, we had a day where we both wanted to play something on our Steam Decks or whatever. Yeah. Nothing needed to be on the telly. It's should we put just a film on in the background that we'll occasionally look over and go, huh?
Yeah, this will be one of that rotation, I think. Yeah, it is. I like that this film has as many genre shifts within the sort of spy film genre as it does.
Yes.
There are, I would say, at least 3 or 4 points in this film where it feels like a completely different genre of spy film, and I don't think that's to its detriment. I think that it does a good job of shifting between, be it the thriller where we're just sort of being whisked along to the slightly solve the mystery of what's happening type, to the sort of more, I don't want to talk up too much about the latter couple of things it becomes, but
I think it does the sort of sexy super spy who's cool as fuck and suave as fuck and can achieve anything just by virtue of main character.
Yeah.
It also manages to do the action film that is happening around someone who is absolutely not prepared for that. Then it manages to do more intimate personal relationships very closely. It manages to do maybe betrayal, maybe who do I trust?
Where are the allegiances landing?
The who do I trust moment of maybe I have to go rogue because I can't trust any of these people, and manages to do epic final scene with things that will make you just go, that was ridiculous. And either you're the kind of person who will go, well, that wasn't very serious and not in my film. And then there's going to be the people who, like me, just kind of laugh at most of that final act.
I'm not laughing at the film in terms of this is so bad. It is a genuine just, this is ridiculous, and someone sat down and seriously did this, and I'm glad at your confidence in doing this.
Yeah, continue being ridiculous. I appreciate ridiculousness. I would like more ridiculousness as well.
It's not a perfect film on paper, but it is a very fun film. It is a film that I'm very glad this film exists, and I hope we get more of this.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would have done differently, which I should have done, because I considered it. Looking at the trailer, I was like, do I need to go on doesthedogdie.com and make sure the cat's okay?
Yeah.
Like, I had concerns.
Yeah,
at several points for that cat.
There is a cat who is at times in peril.
Peril.
Yeah.
And I probably would have been more relaxed for like half an hour of that film had I known.
In future, if you just want to nudge me in the film and go yes or no, is the cat going to be okay? I will just tell you, and that's fine.
But someone else might hear.
I know.
And they might be seeing it for the first time.
I'm sure they won't mind a whispered, whether or not the cat's fine.
Maybe they will. I don't know. But anyway, that I think was the only source of tension for me in that film.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Yeah, good, more silly. I do enjoy that, whatever you would call that genre of not too serious spy, but maybe not quite a full-on comedy.
Yeah,
I don't know if you'd call that a comedy.
It's not necessarily on the it's not on the Johnny English end of the scale.
No.
It's closer to the Kingsman area. I'd say it's a little more on the having fun with it side than Kingsman in some regards.
I think so.
I think it's a little more silly and a little more lighthearted, but it's in that same ballpark of genre.
Yes.
But yeah, what about you? What have you put in your eyes this week?
I finally got back to reading my Spider-Verse, Spider-Geddon
Your
omnibus.
huge fucking Spider-Man comic hardback.
Like 1,200 page comic book that I have to put on a table because I can't hold it in my hands while I'm reading because it's too fucking heavy and it makes my wrists hurt. At first I did sort of sit there with it in my hands, and after about half an hour I was like, my wrists are fucking killing me, I need to put this book down. I feel like I'm about a quarter of the way through it now, and despite that, there is still so much that seems to be mostly set up. I think we talked about this when I first started reading it a while ago, but it's me and a book, and I struggled to get back to it after a while.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I could be playing a video game. I was like, no, read the fucking book that you went out of your way to get. It's fascinating. I would probably need to talk to Arachno about, how much of this, ever comes back ever again, ever? Versus, what is just, here is just a one-off setup, because there are infinite spiders, people. There was an adorable character who was just, young nerd girl on a science trip, ended up getting bit and just becoming this adorable, nerdy, wearing a baggy hoodie as the sort of first Spider-Man outfit. The very, very first Spider-Man was a paper bag on the head, lunch bag on the head. Oh. I was like, hang on, that feels like a callback to an entirely different Spider-Person. Just this adorable nerd, and Arachno's like, no, that's kind of a one-off character. I haven't read all of the other stuff, but that character is that was it. That one moment in this was that's adorable. I've just had a really good moment where the conceit was this universe's Spider-Man was a weekly serialized comic in a newspaper. So it was constantly happening in 2 and 3 panels of a comic strip. And at the end of every one, it's something bad is about to happen, and the beginning of the new one is, we're recapping the last one. And eventually the villain was just like, I'm just leaving, this is driving me nuts. What is going on in this universe? Why does everything keep looping back? It was fun, it was silly. There was a steampunk Spider-Woman, I thought that was very cool. A whole concept of steampunk versions of a lot of the enemies. I don't know if that is a wider version of the that is a more expanded Spider-Person book. But yeah, I'm so far enjoying all of the different versions, and I am curious about when it will all come together. Like, it feels very much like we have got that sort of started. Like, we've met Spider-Ham. Like, Spider-Ham is going out on missions. I've just spotted Spider-Man Noir, who went and saved Peter Parker, who was about to basically turn into a 6-foot spider, while also out on a mission with the six-armed Spider-Man, who I do not know well. We've also had, is it Penny? The one with the mech from that Jared Way invented?
Oh, yes, Penny Parker.
Penny Parker, like the DER scheme and all of that stuff. That was interesting. Like, I don't really know much about that character, and that was interesting learning about how all of that works, and the connection, like the psychic connection to the spider that maybe is still attached, but maybe you can't always see it for whatever reason. I don't really understand all of that, because that wasn't super well explained. But the mech's cool.
Yeah.
And Penny really does have that Neon Genesis Evangelion slightly, oh yes, well, my dad's died, and apparently my universe is going to shit, but I've got the spider and the mech. Okay. We're doing our little best. It's, yeah, big heavy book. I look forward to getting back to more of it. Artwork beautiful, story fascinating, and I do appreciate that. I feel like at the time, reading it in individual comic books, it might have been a bit annoying to go, we're having full-on breakdowns of these particular characters that we the people who actually read this damn comic book, have known about for ages. And, but for the sake of the omnibus and putting them all together, we're explaining characters and all sorts of other things. I appreciate that, because I don't have the time to read all of the Spidersmen and women and cars and pigs. But yeah, fascinating. Yeah, enjoying it so far, and I will report back as I have proceeded further. Hopefully not in another nearly year.
Yeah.
What about you? What else have you looked up?
No, I think that's been it for me really this week. It's been a lot of just like having... I've been doing a lot of work projects, so it's been a lot of like things I've already seen on in the background. I've been doing the thing of having like old E3 presentations and stuff on.
Because there's potentially a new Switch coming.
Potentially we're like a month away from a Switch successor being revealed, it seems so. And it's not even that. It's specifically like I'm in the weeds on weird, fascinating changes for the games industry. I've been watching a bunch of Xbox conferences specifically.
Yeah.
Because by the time you hear this, it will probably have already happened. But Xbox is doing an announcement of some kind, because there's been a bunch of leaks that suggest that a bunch of Xbox exclusives are starting to come to other platforms, and these rumours started, like, really snowballing to, like, it started with Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, those make sense. Maybe Hi-Fi Rush is going to get a sequel they want to get excitement for. Sea of Thieves is multiplayer, so maybe they want a bigger audience. And it started snowballing to, like, Gears of War, Halo, all of their franchises are going multi-platform. They're getting out of the hardware business, which seems unlikely. And we are imminently on the crux of Xbox saying whatever the heckin' deal with all that is. And that's gotten me in the, like, thinking about the shape of the industry and where the various console manufacturers are going and that sort of headspace. So I've been watching old... it's been... old Xbox conferences for some of their weirder decisions and some of their more big swerves, plus Nintendo conferences because, like, we might be imminently getting new hardware, and it's just interesting to linger on what was the perception of the Switch when it was first announced versus now where it's at. There was so much skepticism around, like, the early reveal for the Switch, and it's real.
You were at the centre of it, because...
yeah, that was a weird...
a bunch of the NX stuff.
That was a weird time. It was a weird time indeed. But yeah, there were a lot of people who were not sold on the concept. It's very interesting specifically to go back and watch the on-stage presentation they did that was here's the price and the release date, but also, like, a trailer for ARMS and 1-2 Switch, and some fairly dry business talk, and the ice cubes in the controller demo.
Oh, yeah.
That was like an hour long, and it's really interesting, like, seeing what hit and what didn't of the ways they were trying to, like, formally present that versus, like, the 3-minute trailer they initially were like, here's the concept, go. We're not going to say anything else for, like, 2 months. But yeah, what about you? You put anything else in your eyes?
That's pretty much it for me.
Well then, time for this.
Hey, Laura.
Yes?
We've got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you have a lot of, like, social media?
I do have a lot of social media.
Like, multiple...
I have too much social media, some might say.
You do have a lot.
I have a lot.
Would you like a thing that basically condenses all of social media down to, like, 10 or 15 posts that you'll actually give a fuck about?
That sounds very convenient.
Would you like something that instead of, 8 adverts to every post from a friend, will just give you a summary of what's good on each of the services on that given day?
Again, that in theory sounds pretty good.
Would you also like maybe a separate tab that includes, like, the actual current events from live where the things are happening in that usual unbiased way that we can usually only get from direct social media rather than the actual press?
Again, this all sounds pretty good.
Well, head on over to socialrecap.lol.net, enter the code Q&PS 294, and you can get your very own social recap. It's like a little app for all of your apps that just tells you pretty much what's going on all of them in like a bullet-pointed list.
Hey, so it's condensing social media into a form where I don't have to sit and scroll looking for dopamine.
Yeah, you don't even have to look at the adverts.
Yeah, but part of my brain wants to be scrolling, though.
I mean, you could make it scrollable. You could just, like...
Ooh, I scrolled up and down to the top and bottom of the 12-point list.
Yeah, or you could put them in a larger font.
Ooh.
You could, like, do it letter by letter. You could just keep scrolling down.
Oh,
and
there's
then
quite a lot of scrolling there, I see.
you get to do the scrolling, but now it's only one letter at a time.
Ooh.
And maybe because ADHD, you won't even remember what that word was. And
Well,
you'll have to start again, and then you get to do the whole thing again.
Ooh.
Well, that's socialrecap.lol.net. Enter code Q&PS 294, and you can get 10% off. Nothing, because it doesn't cost anything, but at least they'll know that we sent you, and they'll be happy about that, and we will have been worth the advertising revenue. Woo! Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, I got more problems.
Why?
Right, it's just constant, I know.
Could it not just be money?
Well, the reason we get problems is because we keep promising things and then not doing them because we want to make more money, and then people expect us to do the things.
How do people remember?
I know. Well,
we do all those tests, and they say there's, like, limited focus, and people won't remember things. And
yeah.
People, why are suddenly people remembering so much? That's what I want to know.
Right. Well, maybe we shouldn't be surprised these ones remembered.
Right.
It's the regulators.
Did we not pay them off? Did we not fund someone's... Did our guy not win?
Apparently not. Apparently
Right.
the right money
Okay.
didn't go to the right places.
Oh, God damn it.
So, when we recently bought that really big studio.
Oh, yeah.
And we let's be honest, we were aiming for a monopoly. We want to control the industry.
Oh, yeah.
But, they were all, it's anti-competitive to make a monopoly, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And then we lied, and then they let us have the thing.
Yeah, and one of the lies we told was that we would not do mass layoffs of all of the newly acquired company staff as soon as we acquired them.
I love that song.
Yeah, but I really, 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 really want to do layoffs.
Oh, yeah.
And we did tell them, we
did
told
say
them
we were
we
going to do
wouldn't
some
do
layoffs, right?
Yeah, well, no, we said we weren't going to do layoffs.
No, to each other.
Well, yeah, we said to each other we were going to do
Right.
layoffs. So, we need to find, a reason that we can do layoffs to stop the regulators getting mad about it.
Right.
Because we started trying to fire a few people and they were like, "Oh, this looks like layoffs." So we need an excuse quick.
Right.
So here's my starting my idea. Everyone in that company got caught leaking company secrets all at exactly the same time.
Everyone.
No, you can't see evidence of it.
No, that would be
that's
trade
against
secrets.
data protection or whatever.
Do we have that here?
Maybe we can say we do, but
Could we maybe set up an office in Europe, and then that would be the case?
so something like that. But yeah, we had to fire them all because they all did the same one crime. It's not layoffs. It's punishment. It's firing for a thing they did wrong that they have to be let go for.
Right.
Do you have any better ideas, or right now that's all I got?
What if we say that they slipped and fell out of the company?
Oh yeah. They someone tripped over and spilled coffee on the paperwork, and now we can't let them in the office. We don't know that they're employed.
Exactly. We can't even prove they ever worked here.
Exactly. It's not a layoff if you maybe never worked here.
What if we just say, nah, they never worked here? Don't know what you're talking about. Nah,
Yeah.
la, not listening.
I think that might be the thing that tips it over the edge. You are a fucking genius.
I know.
So, what have you put in your ears?
What have I put in my ears? I've put a couple of new bits of music in my ears that I hadn't listened to before. I listened to a track called Polka Never Dies by the Dreadnoughts.
Hell yeah.
It is a pretty fun mix of polka and a little bit of rock influence, particularly on the vocals. The vocals are, a fairly, angry rock vocals on polka, about just kind of loving a genre of music that is considered to be dying, and being like, nah, I'm gonna keep this genre going. It's a good genre. Don't let people tell you it's going away.
Never let polka die.
Yeah.
Thank you, Weird Al, for introducing me to polka.
At one point, the devil comes over and knocks on the door, and it's like, nah, fuck off, polka never dies.
Never.
Yeah, it was a fun little track. The other one I listened to was a kind of stupid song called I Hope Your Chicken Nuggies Get Soggy, by Boy Jr. It is an upbeat, bouncy track about trying to find insults that will actually hurt, like a whiny man-child in your life. And, they range from, I hope that in an online game, one of the other players calls you a noob. It's just trying to get at the heart of a person who's not really got many problems, to be like, oh, I hope this happens to you. Does that hurt?
I hope you're not first.
Yeah, exactly. I hope you write the kind of thing I hope you write the comment first, but it posts second. It's a fun, silly little track. I had fun with it.
Good modern insults.
Yeah.
These are what we need.
Other than that, I'm continuing to slowly plod through Welcome to Night Vale. We've talked about it before. It's that radio show from another universe. I am getting through maybe 2 episodes a week. For anyone who's up to date, I am at the Who's a Good Boy double episode. I have started the first part of 2, and I'm deeply curious where it's going. But yeah, I'm slowly making my way through. I think a third of the way through Night Vale.
Hell yeah.
This is, I don't think I ever got to this before, so I think I've crossed the point of the furthest I got in Night Vale.
I feel like your first attempt was very similar to my first attempt. You got to just after the book,
yeah,
and then sort of dropped off a little bit.
Yeah.
And to be fair, things do feel a little bit deflated after that first big.
I can
thing.
get why you would fall off there. I don't think it was even that. I think it was just a coincidence of timing if I stopped having an hour's walk early in the morning or late at night to work, and that killed the vibe of Night Vale for me. I need
the perfect thing for going for a walk at night.
I need a liminal space for Night Vale, be it an early morning or late night walk, or apparently being in a swimming pool.
Yeah.
Apparently that's enough of a liminal space for me.
I think it's shut off enough, and in many ways it's a little bit surreal to be listening to something like Night Vale while in a pool surrounded by other people who you're not really there to talk to.
I need to be in some way separated from the rest of my everyday life. Be that, I'm walking in the dark alone and I can imagine I'm in another world a little bit, or sort of feel that way, or swimming pool where it's this is not where I usually am, this is the place where the weird radio station happens. Yeah, what about you? What have you put in your ears this week?
Well, I remember I was talking about how I was waiting for that playlist to roll around so I could listen to the rest of it. Well, it happened, and I got a bunch of the other tracks to talk about. So, first one is Lexerus and Andromedic. The track's called Adrenaline, featuring Nula. And it's really good upbeat drum and bass. Very exciting. I like the adrenaline. The adrenaline, good. Next one was Captain Flatcap going off. Is Captain Flatcap. It's got the good flutes, it's got the good dance music, a little bit glitchy. And it's a good fun vibe, and it's all about going off. It's going off.
Yeah.
Next one was Decline, Three Little Birds, featuring Jaguzzi. this is the Every Little Thing's Gonna Be Alright drum and bass thing that everyone went a bit wild to.
Oh, yes.
Really upbeat, lovely version of that track. Next one was Wilkinson Infinity featuring Leola and Tom Kane. It's, again, good. I should have known it was Wilkinson, because it's good upbeat.
Yeah, Wilkinson has a vibe.
Bangers. We've talked about Afterglow a few times before.
Oh, yeah.
Like, to be fair, a lot of the Hospital Records signed people make amazing music and very much appreciated. Subfocus, Vibration one more time, featuring Adrenaline. Again, really good, very upbeat. I don't know what else I can say. It's all really good, feel-good music that make my brain very happy.
Yeah.
Simon Father and Ivan Bach, Sway Mucho Mambo, Me and My Toothbrush remix. So this is When the Rhythm Starts to Sway.
Yes.
It's that, but it's a, oh gosh, what would I even call it? Kind of trancey remix of that. Is good. It was a weird night, because at the start of the night they played a remix of Sandstorm. That we were both like, I was not expecting to hear Sandstorm played in the year of our Lord 2021. But there we were. And the last track I want to mention is Age of Love by Age of Love, with Charlotte DeWitt remix. It's really good, upbeat, uplifting, hands in the air, trance, good, really nice time. I think we listened to this at New Year's as well, but I didn't know the name of it. It's some good music that we've listened to, and hopefully that will get you going. I have saved copies of all of those tracks, and I will be listening to those while you're listening to Night Vale during our next swim. Have you listened to anything else?
No, I think that's it for me, really.
Well then,
Time for this.
Are you tired of streamers who aren't playing the game as well as you think they should?
Yeah.
Can you not resist telling them how poor their performance is?
Yeah.
Well, our advanced program is for you. Our experts will work with you to get you the knowledge you need. And that knowledge is that you should shut the fuck up. Yes, shutting the fuck up is the ultimate solution for other people having to put up with your toxic, opinionated bullshit. Shutting the fuck up. Try it today.
I lost my plough, and I reckon it were them fair folk what stuck it.
Oh, same thing happened to me. I lost me bet hat and me boots just last week.
Them fae are always nicking our stuff.
Well, I'm marching right up to the fairy ring right now. I'll have a word, so I will.
Right, fairies, you've pilfered your last plough, you thieving little ikes. Oh, hello. Can I help you folks?
Why you keep nicking our things?
Yeah, every time I turn around I've lost something else. Well, I can assure you, we've stolen nothing. Just one moment. I may have an idea.
Oh, here it comes, all the excuses.
Here, what are you doing in my ear? Just one moment, fellas.
Hey, you stop that.
Aha, got it. My plough.
My new boots.
No, I've no idea where your things are, but you do both have ADHD.
Oh.
Your things are just lost, not stolen.
So, it could be witches then?
No, not witches.
Definitely witches.
No, not witches or brownies or sprites, fair folk, Bigfoots, which don't exist, by the way.
That's just what they told you to say.
Come on, I'll help you find the plough. Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Brochure Justice Warriors.
Brochure Justice Warriors?
Yeah.
All right, Larry.
Right, mate. How you doing?
Oh, you know, doing my best in that.
Oh, yeah, same.
Yeah, you been up to much?
Oh, I've been watching in disappointment at the CDC over in the States.
Yeah, what they done now?
Well, they're continuing to not put medical science first in their messaging at the behest of political pressure.
Right,
they have dropped their guidance that you should self-isolate for 5 days if you get COVID.
Right.
That is no longer the official guidance they are giving the people of the United States.
Right.
And that's frustrating because the virus has not changed.
No, in fact, I think I've seen the World Health Organization this week, in fact, saying nothing has changed since the very beginning. In fact, things are in many ways worse now, and we really need to be treating this very seriously.
Yeah, you know, the CDC's explanation they're allegedly giving is, well, most people have had a vaccine now, so it's probably fine. And it's like, well, no, because vaccine is not 100% effective, and, you know, the more people get COVID, the more chances it has to mutate and make it so that one vaccine you had is less effective, you know?
Yeah,
so,
and the other thing is, you know, at this point, we have acknowledged that it's been so long since most people had a vaccine or even a booster that, you know, that is actually kind of starting to wear off, and it's less effective than it was, and therefore, you know, much more risk is current or is possible at the moment.
And it's one of those things where it's important to remember any time that, like, you know, this kind of change in medical guidance happens when nothing has actually changed around something like COVID, to go, you know, this is a political move. It is a move intended to go, get back to living your normal lives and let's not keep, you know, putting life on hold for this. Which,
let's not hurt the economy.
Exactly. It all boils down to, let's not hurt the economy, get back to being good little worker drones. Yeah. We don't want your boss having to pay for 5 days of you being at home just because you've got a highly communicable disease that, you know, is going to cause long-term health problems.
Why should you be the only one knocked out? You know, share it around the office. I hope you brought enough COVID for everyone.
Exactly. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating seeing, you know, there was once upon a time where it's like, oh, you are still in the communicable stage of a disease. Common sense, we do not want you back in the office. You know, you know, even if you're just thinking about capitalism, you should probably go, if you come in, you're going to make other people sick, and that is going to cost us more in the long run than just letting you have the 5 days off.
Yeah.
You know, think longer term than just today capitalism.
Well, indeed, and also talking about long term, you know, you've got a worker that you've, you know, potentially trained. You might consider them very good. Maybe they've been there a while. They're one of your more experienced staff. What if they end up suffering with long COVID situation, and then they become less able to work at all? You know, again, you're not thinking long term, but that person might have long-term implications of your short-term thinking.
And, you know, we should, you know, not have to think it in terms of capital. We should just be able to go, it's the morally right thing to do to let a person who is ill stay at home and not infect others. But, you know, even if, you know, you are going to think about it, you know, from the economy's perspective, it is very short-sighted to force people with COVID back to work. It's not in your long-term best interests, people making these changes.
And then, you know, I think ultimately what you have to do with this sort of thing is look globally rather than just locally. So, you know, if you're government is maybe saying, well, we're just gonna get back to normal, you know, don't worry about the isolation thing. Look at, you know, what is the World Health Organization saying? What are other countries who are, you know, as having as much COVID around as anyone else? What are they saying in response? Have they changed any of their reaction to these things?
Exactly.
The answer right now is absolutely not.
Indeed.
Yeah. Fancy hug, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Good hug, mate.
Good hug.
Right, I think I'll go and pop the kettle on.
Oh, it sounds lovely.
Nice.
So, Laura,
yes?
you do things and people would like to see those things and know about those things, find out where they can find those things. Tell us where they can find those things.
They can find those things at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. Laura K. Buzz on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky and Mastodon, Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills, as little as $1 a month over there. It allows me to keep doing the stuff that I do. Just Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. I got a whole bunch of stuff that's gonna appear at some point. So follow Laura K. Buzz, that's how you'll find it all. What about you? Whereabouts are you on the internet?
Well, I don't have the unified branding, but I do have a link tree. It's linktree.ee/Janiac, Janiac. You can find the t-shirts I design, the music I make, the things I write, all sorts of stuff. All of my stuff is over there, including my Patreon, patreon.com/stonedmonkeyradio. For as little as $1 a month, you can help me justify all of the time I put into making these things to help entertain people, hopefully. That's very much appreciated. And Laura, I think that's everything, so will you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.